Hello, everyone, and welcome to Wandering Monster, the Monster Manual of Podcasts. My name is John A. Baldisberger,
I am Charles Bernard.
and again, this is Wandering Monster. Charles, you are a snowstorm again at the moment. We have to figure out what that is all about.
Hmm.
You'll go in and out of it as we go. We can hear you just fine, which I guess is
Okay.
the important thing.
Well, maybe
Um,
maybe the snowstorm is due to the fact that I'm like phasing in and out of existence. I don't know.
that's worrisome.
It
I
feels
have
great, John.
I have better candy this week.
Really?
Without hair in it.
Oh, that's good. I'd forgotten about that. That is absolutely disgusting.
And a drink. And I'm looking at BLM hats on the internet.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
yeah. So
It's so funny. Like I don't mean to be like, yuckity yuck a comedian or whatever. It's more just a fact of
for our
life.
comedy podcast, you mean?
That's right. Yes, I intentionally am as unfunny as I possibly can be. No, but like if you live in the West, especially in like Utah, Nevada, a couple places like that, BLM, every time you hear it, your first thought is Bureau of Land Management because that's what
Right.
you've heard since you were like 4 or 5 years old. But
Right.
yeah, that's awesome though. Cool. I hope you get
So
yourself a nice hat.
thank you. I'm looking at the fitted caps right now because I prefer them, but I don't know. I don't know what the protocol, the rightness, the wrongness of wearing caps with the fist.
Hmm.
um because I've always associated the fist with the Black Power, Black Panthers movement, and nothing against that. It's just like, is that appropriate for me, a very chalky white guy, to wear that? um
I've seen
I don't
it
know.
other places enough that I feel like it's all right. Like for example, Occupy, that was like a huge
Right.
symbol, and or various socialist movements, including I think the DSA has like at least one logo that is fist based. So I think it's more of like a generally left thing. But it did start with Black Power and like
Yeah,
props to those cats because yeah.
I have
Um,
so much to talk about tonight. First off, we posted this on our socials, but this is Nawal. This is a
mm-hmm.
game I backed back in 2019. It is about Mexican mystics fighting colonial power in modern day Mexico, the colonial power being angels.
That's dope.
Um,
That is so dope.
and you hunt the angels and you like run little side businesses. You make angel meat tacos, you make like cowboy boots for caballeros out of angel hide.
Holy fuck, I
You
need
can
this
grind
game.
angel bones into like cocaine essentially. Like,
Yeah, like okay,
it's
so
so good.
that makes me think of Tenacious D because during the studio version of Explosivo, Jack gets possessed by a demon or something and starts babbling, and one of the things he says is, "I am known as the Angel Crusher," and I've always loved the Angel Crusher as a title. Uh,
So I'm very excited to get that. But one of the thing, it's powered by the Apocalypse, which is a certain system in role playing,
mhm.
in which you have playbooks, and the playbooks in this are all based on various animal spirits that the player characters or Nawals can inhabit. And one of my favorite, and like the traits that you have and the powers you have are all based on animal traits and animal personalities. For instance, the dog is like, they get their bonuses when they're being loyal and they're defending people
Mhm.
and running in a pack. Uh, which, I have kind of a pack here at my house
I love me a pack of dogs.
made of Beans and
Mhm.
Magda.
Yeah, it's a very
Um,
very small but very adorable pack.
Uh, a very tenacious pack as
Yeah.
well, because Magda is completely blind and she hates Beans, and Beans is very fast and
Mhm.
loves Magda.
Oh.
And so she'll run up to this old bulldog and just like bat her in the face and like nip at her
Jesus.
face, and Magda will lunge in the wrong direction trying to bite Beans, more often than not biting me in the
Yeah, I was gonna
process.
say, it
And
sounds like
Magda
the
like will
collateral damage here would
realize
be
she'll
you.
realize
Yeah.
she bit me and be like, oh shit, I'm sorry, but I'm going to fuck this dog right up. And Magda's a very sweet dog. Uh she has this like she has this great face, where like 90% of the time she looks like she's looking at you like, the fuck are you doing? What the fuck do you like? She has a very fuck you like side
Yeah.
eye. Her side eye
Yeah.
game's on point. But she's so sweet.
Yeah.
Anyway, I like dogs.
Yep.
Friends,
Me too.
if you haven't figured it out by now from the fact that like there's a picture of a dog on our overlay
Yep.
and there's dogs mentioned in our like I don't know why we try to keep it a secret anymore. I just lay it out all on the line. If you can't tell from Charles's dog cosplay that he's wearing currently, I don't
Exactly.
know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't lie to the audience anymore about what we're
Well, it's
doing.
always a question of where cosplay ends and fetish begins.
There's no question. It's all one and the same.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I've yet to
Um,
see any cosplay that didn't turn me on.
that's
Any at all.
true. It's
Any.
true. Yeah. Man,
We're talking about dogs.
yeah, we are. The Canis family in general, because I have brought not one but two wolves tonight, rather than your regular ass dog. But I consider dogs and wolves to basically be like more than cousins. I mean, they can actually like, I think, produce offspring, can't they? Uh, at any rate, yeah. So it's an interesting running theme in monsters of like beast men or mixtures of mankind and animal kind. And so we might as well get mine out of the way since you said you had quite the agenda for tonight. The first example of a human canis hybrid that I brought is actually a real example from history, so to speak.
Ooh. Hit me
Yeah,
up.
so before witch hunting was like the cool thing to do in Europe, the Germans were doing it.
Mhm.
And witch hysteria burned hottest in Germany, right up until Britain like actually elected a witch finder general. Then shit got really out of control. But even at their height, I think that Britain killed like 16 witches in one year, was like the most they ever racked up. And Germany was like going nuts. And it's an interesting thing. Like a cat named Joseph Laycock wrote a book called Speak of the Devil that is about sort of modern Satanism up to the point of the Satanic Temple and including them. And one of the historical parallels he draws to I guess you could call it a Satanist response to witch hunting. Before the witch craze and during it, the Germans were actually more obsessed with werewolves than they were with witches. So they had like a buttload of werewolf trials and like they tortured people into confession, but in a lot of cases people actually like came to the authorities themselves and came forward and were like, I'm a werewolf. And it was a form of like mass delusion and Foliao village or whatever. And yeah, but this one guy had the most interesting response, I think, to the accusation. And his name was it's only down in documents as Old Thice, like not young Thice, not little Thice, but Old Thice. And Old Thice said to the witch hunters or werewolf hunters or whatever, yeah, I am a werewolf. Come the full moon, I have the power to put on the skin of a wolf and like turn into one, which is one of the werewolf legends. There were many. He said, but I put on my wolf skin, I turn into a wolf, and I hunt down evil and I kill it. So really, I'm doing God's work and I'm God's werewolf. And what he'd done is take a community like an internal other, a perceived and imaginary threat, and inverted it to turn it into a positive force for good to show people that that was like an arbitrary and stupid thing to be afraid of and thing to base your fear on. And, anyway, so shouts to Old Dice. He's been dead for probably about 500 years. And
Rel- Related to
yeah,
this, um, I wrote a book. Some of you may not know that.
Jesus Christ, you've written more than one book, my friend. Have you written like 100 books yet?
So, no, but I will tell you that the count is going to be near. The count is currently 12, and it will be near 30 by this time next year.
Good
Um,
Lord.
which I did not intend, but woo.
Yeah.
Um, so I wrote a book called Son of the Right Hand, which features a man named Peter Stube
Hmm.
or Peter Stube. I don't know. I don't speak German. despite my last name.
Yeah.
Um, Peter Stu was a German werewolf who was executed in part for werewolfism,
Mm-hmm.
and also incest, and also murder and cannibalism,
Wow.
because he killed and ate a lot of children
So he was
while
like
sleeping with his daughter.
a Guy de Rai or whatever his name was in France. He was
Yeah,
like a serial killer who, because of some sort of social position, was able to like really go nuts with it. Or
I
did he
don't
just
think
like
no.
live in the bush?
I think he just lived in the bush.
Wow.
He was a wild man,
Yeah.
wild thing. Except not like cool. Like, it's not cool to have sex with your daughter and eat children.
No, I would
Um,
agree with that.
we're like we are. Hey, our motto has always been "Be gay, do crime," not those
Yes.
crimes.
Yes. No.
Madness Heart
No.
Press and Wandering Monster is strictly against both of those things. Um, we're not against a lot, so like if we're against it, it's bad. Anywho, um, there's really interesting werewolf story in Judaism. Um, Namely, one of the modern day saints of Judaism, the Baal Shem Tov, who was a miracle worker, um, like the big hero of the Hasidic movement, was said to have encountered a werewolf, um, who was killing children. And there's this there's an argument. There's several different versions of the story. My favorite one is that he took a Sunday school class through the meadow where he knew the werewolf would be, and the Sunday school class like sang psalms at the werewolf, and it drove the evil intention back into its heart, and he reverted to his man shape, and then the Baal Shem Tov caved his skull in.
I like that.
Yes,
I love the way that story ends. That's great.
it's funny because there's so many amazing stories in Judaism
Yeah.
that are all about humility and all about like how the rabbi or whoever outsmarted and tricked this person. And this is like the Baal Shem Tov is like holy, like he's a saint. Um, uh, he's I can't think of any saints that are actually good people.
No, there are probably a couple. Like, for example, I just read this like amazing fucking book about the historical figure of Jesus, not the religious figure, and it's heavy on
Oh,
Judaism because
Zealot.
yeah, by Reza Aslan, and it's heavy on. I should be specific on Second Temple era, like
Mm-hmm.
Judaism, and especially under Roman occupation with like a collaborator regime or whatever. And anyway, like yeah, it's some incredible shit, like all these like little side notes. But his brother James, who was one of the apostles, Jesus's, seems like a cool guy. He was known by everybody in Jerusalem, like the Jews, the Christians, but who weren't Christians at the time, they were just nutballs. And like everybody called him James the Just because he spent like all his time helping the poor. And like I think he was they weren't Essenes, it was some other sect that like took the grow your beard long challenge at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some thinking that he was one of those because he was known for his like long ass, beard.
Yeah.
And yeah, like he tried to stop Paul, Saul of Tarsus, from doing all the crazy shit he was up to, but
That
was
guy was such a
unsuccessful.
cunt.
Yeah, dude. Especially after reading this book, I am like,
Yeah.
fuck this dude all day. I
Uh,
seriously think he knew he was a grifter, which is
oh
not
yeah,
something I
Paul.
can say about
Paul of
most.
Tarsus. Yes.
Yeah. I think he was a total fucking grifter.
He
Like,
no. He basically said like, okay, I want to be rich and powerful.
mm-hmm,
Okay, the people in power are Romans.
mm-hmm,
They really hate the Jews. I
mm-hmm.
should gear this entire religion towards glorifying Romans and giving Pontius Pilate a pass and demonizing the Jews and the rabbis at the time, which are Pharisees.
Right.
Because like if you look at the alleged teachings of
Mm-hmm.
Jesus, right? They're Pharisaic. Jesus was a Pharisee. Like he was teaching in the rabbinic tradition.
He was
So
also incredibly uneducated. Like, he was illiterate and also lived in this like total shitball village that
Just like
had
me.
no synagogue. So he didn't know Hebrew. He didn't know, he might have known like a bit of Greek, but mainly he spoke Aramaic, which is like country
Hmm.
folk talk.
Yeah.
And all of his religious education came at the hands of John the Baptist, who had been like a Pharisee or something, and then became one of these zealot guys who was just like, the end is nigh. I'm gonna wander in the desert, like
Which
talk
is
to God
popular.
type stuff.
Which is
Yeah, yeah,
popular
yeah.
when you get too deep. I c-
Though, yeah,
I give myself 3 years tops before that's me, frankly. Like
I have some
let's be
friends who've done
completely
that in
fucking
kind of a
honest.
secular way. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
Eh,
so I mean, look,
we
we
don't
have
want
to
to
be
get too
careful because
sidetracked.
you
Yeah,
and I could go on a deep end and talk about this kind of thing for 4 to 5 hours.
it would be my
Um,
pleasure.
it would be, but it'd be
Instead,
really boring for our audience.
yes. So instead, I'm going to boogaloo on over to my my second, wolf man I've brought.
Yes,
So the picture that I gave you,
and it's now
I
on screen.
yes, I am obsessed with a pair of movies by the team of Patrick Bryce and Mark Duplass called Creep and Creep 2.
Okay.
And yeah, like so Creep came out in 2014 and is one of the lowest budget horror movies ever made, as you can tell from that wonderful mask that he's wearing. Which is like some dime store like crazy ass bullshit that he, but at any rate, what I wanted to bring up about this is like spoilies for Creep if you haven't seen it, and I recommend you see it. They're not real spoilers, but so that mask has a name and sort of a personality. His name is Peach Fuzz, and when I think his name is Joseph. Yeah, the character is Joseph. He's played by the one and only Mark Duplass, who's fucking incredible. And Joseph is essentially like a way gone serial killer who enjoys ensnaring people in like a really boundary crossing friendship out of nowhere, and like that's sort of his vector towards murder, is like his whole shtick is like making people as uncomfortable as he possibly can. Like, and this is interesting because if you listen to a podcast like Let's Not Meet or something like that that documents real life creepy encounters, like this is a thing that dangerous people do, is like they cross like a little boundary, and then when they see that they can get away with that because whoever it is like polite or scared or whatever, they like cross the next one. And by the time that Peach Fuzz makes his like climactic appearance in the movie, like he has a little song and everything, it's great. Just the sight of that wolf mask, especially in the scene that's featured in that photo, where he like works himself up into kind of a frenzy, is like the mask becomes like fucking terrifying, and his behavior is very like animalistic, and it's sort of it combines a lot of things I love, which is like the use of a mask as like a externalization of some psychological process, and the transition between man and beast that takes place during murder or something like that. And it's done with a mask that probably cost $1 at like a thrift store, and like the guy's regular clothes and an Airbnb they rented for a night, like to make this amazing movie that's like psychologically very complex with only two characters, one camera, and like it is kind of a, yeah, I guess it's a found footage movie. And yeah, I can't recommend it highly enough. Part two is a little more complicated. I think they decided to put a little more like oomph into it, budget wise and everything. But yeah, like they're both worth watching. Creep 1 and Creep 2. I hear that they're working on the third one, but having a little bit of trouble. Like, I don't know. There's just some gossip about them kind of hitting a wall or whatever, and that I could understand that, because if you make just two bomb ass movies, you got to feel like the pressure's on or whatever.
A fan of the show just tweeted at me to
Yeah.
let me know that whenever we go live on Twitch, it's telling everyone that I am learning to speed run, which is not what we're doing here. We're talking. I mean,
Well, I
I
suppose we're.
we're speed running. I don't look. I
Yeah,
don't
I don't
fucking
know either.
know.
I'm not.
Uh, I
I
have
don't
not
do
seen this
anything
movie.
speedily.
I have not seen this movie.
I really
Um,
recommend it. Both of
It
them used to be
sounds
on
really
Netflix.
fascinating.
It's super good, and like, I don't know, it plays with a lot of psychological horror that, I mean, there's nothing supernatural in it. It's total psychological horror, and I guess it also asks the eternal question of,
It's
like,
digital eyes.
in a horror movie or horror context, is a, you know, sufficiently demented murderer a monster, or does a monster have to be like something that is not human? Because Joseph is decidedly human in this movie. Murderer a monster, or does a monster
So,
have to be like something that is not human? Because Joseph is decidedly human
I
in this
like
movie.
small movies. I don't know if actually this does play in.
Something that is
Have
not
you
human.
watched the incredible movie "We Need to Do Something" by written by friend of the
Max
show
Booth the
Max
Third?
Booth the Third?
I have not seen it yet. It's on IFC Midnight, I know, so I need to get at that. I missed the debut night, so
Max
Booth.
It's
I
on
haven't-
I have IFC Midnight apparently.
Yeah.
It's on Amazon. It's on iTunes.
I missed the debut. I'll grab it on Amazon.
Um,
That's where
it's
I
on-
keep
it's
all
on,
my
IFC
imaginary
Midnight
movies.
apparently.
Yeah.
It's on. So yeah, I get what you're saying. There's a moment
I'll grab it
in
on
that movie
Amazon.
where
That's where I keep all my
someone is being licked by a
imaginary
dog.
movies.
So yeah, and something happens.
There's a moment.
And then Ozzy Osbourne yells something. And I started saying this and realized I can't actually say anything without spoiling the movie. So that's all you're getting.
Okay.
And
All right.
I started saying this and realized I can't actually. I'm taking your picture down now because it's been covering my face for the last 5 minutes.
Oh, please do. Yeah,
Okay.
it's not really anything special to look at. I just wanted people to see how cheap and shitty the mask is, because like, I don't know, it's not a practical effects mask. It's like deliberately cheap, sort of like, I guess, like Michael Myers in Mask. You know, the whole
I don't know, it's not a
shat
practical
mask with the eyebrows trimmed off, painted white.
I mostly didn't want anyone to see me just shoveling gummies into my mouth, which is what I was like, the entire time. That's what I was.
Well, I hope they're not medicinal, because if you've been shoveling them, man, like,
They're
you're gonna
not.
be
They're.
catatonic
I
here.
mean. Oh my god. Okay. No, I told you the story about me almost dying, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. No,
Yeah.
these are just gummy. These are lifesaver gummy.
Oh, those are
berry
good.
flavor. Yeah,
those
I
are
love
good.
these.
Yeah, I've had many a lifesaver gummy in my life.
So it's my turn.
Yeah, it is.
So as you know, Charles, I'm a big fan of a system called Morkborg.
Yes.
Morkborg is great in that it's like tabletop role playing combined with
Black metal.
Yeah, and it's really simple but really fun. Everything's kind of over the top in a Doom way. And one of the great things about it is that they're very non-DRM. They're very open to third party people tapping into their system and making money off the name and sharing the world, so to speak.
Can I tell people about my favorite one that you have of that's the Morkborg spinoff?
Yeah.
Which one is it?
Fiskborg.
Where you get to go fishing for monsters. Yeah, it's a fishing role playing game, which is like a thing right now. It's cool.
Yeah, I have 3 of them.
Wow.
You can fish in a corpse in Fiskborg. Here's what I'll say. I back too many Morkborg projects. Too many. But it allows me to share things like Kennels of Carnage.
Yes.
Now, Kennels of Carnage is not a game about fighting horrifying demon dogs.
Good.
You might think it is, but it's not.
I hope you get to be one.
Let me just open up this picture so you can see. Kennels of Carnage is a game in which you go and save puppies.
Love it. Love everything about it.
You save dogs, and throughout the thing, you can like bond. Your party members can bond with dogs that will join your party and be your pets.
Hell yeah!
There's a Chihuahua that's actually a dragon. It's great. There's thunder zombies. Like, what's not to love?
My one of our IT people at my job just got I think they call them a teacup chihuahua. And one of the pictures that he sent everybody was of him with like one of those red Dixie cups, and the dog was just like barely peeking out of the top of it because it's a little tiny puppy of a teacup chihuahua. It was pretty effing cute.
I've been talking with a fan trying to get this issue figured out. I brought Kennels of Carnage mostly so I could, show off a Morkborg thing, because I think the setting and the community around Morkborg is really positive and good.
Mm-hmm.
Really fun, really supportive.
Mm-hmm.
Thank God I don't have a record player, because
It
like
came with yeah.
a third of Morkborg um supplements are vinyls with like supplemental material printed on the jacket.
Oh goddamn, that's cool.
It's so cool. And like, if I had a record player, I would have backed every single one of these and just be completely broken. My wife would have left me.
You shouldn't have told
Um,
me that. I'm the kind of guy who has like the, special issue of Revolver Rob Zombie 7-inch and shit like that.
I've been
So
thinking about messaging Rob Zombie and seeing if I could get a signed copy of Lords of Salem.
I bet. Well, I don't know.
I would
Like
just like shoot my
you might
shot.
want to wait. He's currently making the Munsters, and looks like pretty busy on that. But he'll
He's
be done
when
soon.
is he not going to be busy?
Well, true, but I
When
mean,
is he
like
not going to be too busy for some random splatter Jew in Texas asking him to sign a book?
he
Like,
usually takes some time off between like albums and movies
we'll
and
see.
shit.
We'll see.
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway,
Yeah,
anyway,
yeah, you should try though.
like, I'm gonna. And you had that the vinyl of Igor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Oh
yeah. What is it called? Spirituality and Distortion. Yeah,
yeah, they're coming to
very good.
Texas pretty soon, and I am really hoping to see them live.
Oh God, that would be amazing. One of my
So,
favorite groups, actually. Yeah.
oh, they're very good, very good. Uh, so, I bring all that up so I can just kind of show off Mark Borg and show off something someone cool is kind of doing. Um, the other thing I wanted to talk about is something I'm trying to do more on this show, and talk about how to use dogs, how to use whatever we're talking about in games. And I was thinking about this for a little while on the way up, and I was thinking, it'd be cool is you could have a werewolf, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the party could encounter the werewolf, like fight the werewolf for a minute, and the werewolf could be like, wait, 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 and then transform to an older woman. Be like, look, I'm not a bad person. I'm not a bad werewolf. Um, I've, you know, I've been driven from my home by a madman who's like holding my granddaughter hostage.
Oh, I see where this is going.
And it
Is he a
you take
woodcutter by any chance?
he is, and you take this werewolf back to the hut.
Ah, that's
You
brilliant.
slay this like evil lumberjack guy
Yeah, that's brilliant.
and then as soon as he's dead, the werewolf transforms back to werewolf and eats the girl,
That's
because it's a big bad
brilliant.
wolf the whole time. The other
I
thing I
love
was
it.
thinking,
I
and I
love
really
it.
like this idea. What's the most unrealistic thing about liches?
Uh, I've never understood their agenda, to be quite honest. But like
Mm-hmm.
the fictional version, I've never like I mean, I guess if they're like servants of Satan or whatever, and it's the Satan that's like of the Puritans, but I guess the
Well,
closest is the witch, that movie, which is so fucking good. The one with Black Phillip in it. That came pretty close to
wait,
explaining it, but
you're. I didn't say witch. I said lich.
oh, most
I was
unrealistic thing
like,
about
I was like,
liches.
why the witch? That little girl was not a lich. She was just a witch. Oh, I see
Oh,
what
okay,
happened.
okay. Most unrealistic thing about liches. Well, like it seems like it's still a tremendous weakness to have a relic or a physical thing of any kind, you know?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. The most unrealistic thing about a lich is, in fact, the motivation.
Hmm.
See, I want you to imagine you're a wizard,
Mm-hmm.
a powerful wizard. You
Not
have a
not
dog.
necessary to imagine, but go
You
on.
have a dog.
Okay.
Let's say you have a little um griffin.
A
You know what I
Brussels
mean?
Griffin. Oh,
Brussels griffin.
yeah. Yeah, yeah.
It's older. Like it's getting near its twilight.
Right.
How are you not going to bend your necromantic powers to turn your dog into an immortal lich so that you could have it
Oh,
forever?
man, you should have a lich have a dog. That's brilliant.
Like
Like, yeah.
every like because wizards always have familiars. Why are they not immortal things? And so,
So on that same subject, I've talked about this movie, I think, on this show before, but not the first Ghost in the Shell movie, but the second one, which is subtitled Innocence from like back in the 90s, I think. It's like it's a pretty philosophical movie. It has a hell of a lot of like random quotations from different philosophers in it, but it deals with complex issues, including like humanity's like urge to reproduce itself in various ways, like children, dolls, etc., AIs, and it turns out at one point you learn that the main character of that one, Bato, has had the same dog for like years and years and years and years and years, by which we mean like way too long to have had the dog once. And it turns out that the dog has some sort of like kidney problem. And so he keeps having it cloned, but he doesn't
uh,
want to like have it be a different dog, so he doesn't fix the defect.
ooh,
And like he feeds it special food, and the dog is lives a happy life until it croaks. But like he keeps recloning this dog, and it's a fascinating concept, because you can have that done now, it turns out.
right,
um it's not going to be the same dog, because just like with people, they have brains that are complicated enough that their upbringing and their environmental circumstances are very important in their
yeah,
personalities. But yeah, it's interesting. Instead of having a dog cloned over and over, you'd have the same dog forever.
yeah.
That's great.
So,
Yeah.
I was considering this on my walk, and I was like, okay, that's a great concept, but how do we use it in a game, right? So the obvious answer to me is one of two things. First, anyone who's played Skyrim will probably remember the Daedra god's dog,
Yeah.
um, whose name is escaping me. Begins with the B. Barnabas.
Yeah.
Barnabas is the dog's name. You could have a Barnabas style thing where the dog leads you on a quest, and then you at the end you find out, oh, these are liches. But another way to go about it would be like for you to go into a thing and defeat a big bad lich, right? Party wins, lich is dead, everyone's happy, party goes home, not realizing that the lich dog saw the whole thing. Now it's
Mm.
just a dog. However, it's a lich dog that's been alive for centuries.
Mhm.
It's picked up. It's more intelligent than a normal dog.
Mm.
It maybe knows some summoning stuff. And so, slowly throughout whatever next few adventures the party has, dog related things start happening. Like, they keep seeing black dogs, which are the omens of death.
Mhm.
Um, hellhounds keep like appearing in encounters where there should not be hellhounds. Just various dog related monsters and dog related mishaps, until suddenly like the smoke clears and there's a dog skull floating with like a cape, like the Doctor Strange cape, and I personally I would make it be a husky. So like they're seeing this ominous floating dog
Yeah.
skull with the blazing eyes, with the like goofy husky howls and
Yeah, yeah.
and
Unearthly howling is such a recurring theme in like early horror literature. It's interesting.
well, I mean, for so like even like if you go to a third world country or even a city that has been like gentrified by wildlife,
Mhm.
Detroit, I'm looking at you, that got gentrified by bears not too long ago.
Shit.
I think it was Detroit. It was some Midwest city uh where like the housing got so bad and people moved away and so much that like bears started like breaking into houses.
Wow.
Uh,
Nature
anyway,
reclaims what is rightfully its.
there might be a ghost behind you. I'm looking at your doorknob. It's wiggly.
Cool.
Anyway, despite the fact that Charles is about to be murdered by a ghost, I'll keep talking about bears
Nah,
and
man, he's just
dogs.
here to party. He didn't know
Nice.
that I was, still podcasting.
No, that's fair. That's fair. Um, I like this idea for a couple of reasons. One, it allows for a kind of funny, like humorous encounters throughout the game, but at the end, it's super tragic.
Yeah.
Like, no one like I'm in a lot of different groups of horror on social media. Um, and one of the big recurring things that are people's triggers where they stop reading is when an animal or a dog gets hurt.
Yeah,
And
I would
so
agree with that one.
centering of like, oh man, this thing is an evil dog. Well, it's evil because you killed its only friend in front of it. Ugh. Because the dog's not evil.
Yeah.
The dog is sad and angry. So what do you do? It allows for some play on emotion. I think that's really there's a lot of jokes about players being murder hobos, like homeless vagabonds that just go
Hmm.
around killing everyone they meet. Um, which isn't a great look, but
Well, and
also
and it's an insult to the fine profession of murder hobo, really. I mean, like a lot of those cats had put a lot of passion into their work,
and a lot of feces as
Yeah,
well.
that too, for some of them,
Um,
for sure. Yeah.
but I think what I mean is that like I've never played a tabletop game in which like that was fun to do.
Yeah.
Um,
It's
so
boring.
it is. It's real boring. And
Any player style that only has one setting is just like that person. You need to take them aside and be like, there's this wonderful land called the land of make believe, and it's filled with all kinds of emotions you can have. And yeah, like that's definitely a tell.
yeah, like it's well, hey, if it's not your game, it's not your game. That's
Hmm.
fine. Like there's probably a computer in that room that you're in right now that you could play a hack and slash. They're
Yep.
hella fun. Just do
Yep.
that.
Yeah.
Um anyway, point is that um look for animals are fantastic ways to kind of pull at player heartstrings and get people emotionally invested in stuff. And dogs maybe more so than anything else.
Well, some
Um,
subclasses too. You can have like an animal companion
mhm.
or what have
Like
you.
ranger and druids, yeah.
Correct. Yeah. And that is in my opinion underused trait.
Mhm.
It
I,
adds a
I
lot to
see
a game.
a lot of people I see playing those tend to play them as either jokes where they have a silly pet,
Hmm. That's
or
what I mean. Yeah. Yeah.
or they're doing it for cheese. Like, okay, this will give me this bonus, and then I can like use sight and like see what my pet sees. And it's just
Hmm.
like, okay, but like make it interesting.
You know who did a really good job of storytelling from the POV of a dog?
Alex
Uh,
Jones.
no, I was no, I was gonna say Stephen King in The Stand. There's like at least in the unabridged version, there's like a whole section that's like they leave this dog behind in some town when they're traveling because they like just have to. It's they think it's dead, blah blah blah. And then at another point in the story, the dog shows up and like it's obviously been through like a lot of shit to get to them and like has been in a scrap and all this stuff and they're like, well, I have no idea what the fuck he's been through, but we're glad he's back. And like, then when the dog goes to sleep, there's like this whole section, all in italics, of course, because it's Stephen King, that is like the dog's journey, and it's really well done, in my opinion. Like its vocabulary is like kind of simple but complex enough to, get the story across, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's really cool. And you can do that with the animal companion story. It doesn't have to be named like Commander Thunder Britches and be a flying cat or some fucking stupid shit like that. You can put some thought into it.
For sure, for sure.
What has your
Um,
character been through with this animal? Like, why are you guys such good chums?
yeah. Um, yeah, dogs are great.
Mm-hmm.
First, dogs are like, hey, everyone, dogs are great. Newsflash. Second of all, y- you get out of a game what you put in.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking from experience as a DM, you like our ability to craft cool stories depends a lot on your ability to like live within those stories
Mm-hmm.
and interact with them in a way that is beneficial. Good example of this, man. So I got Hero Quest a couple weeks
Hell
ago,
yeah.
and that was my introduction to role playing games, right? When I was a kiddo, and I've been playing with my wife and daughter, trying to introduce my daughter to role playing games, and she was playing the druid, and there's these little plastic rats you can put in rooms for funsies. And my daughter was like, "Oh man, I want to tame one of the rats and have it be my pet." And I was just like trying to get them through this quest alive. And I kind of was like, "Okay, just don't worry about it. Just keep going, keep going." And I realized like a couple of rooms after she just like kicked open the door to see if there was rat, then left. I was like, you know what? This is what will make the game fun for her. This is what will she'll attach to.
Mm-hmm.
So I put a rat in the next room and created a little mini game for her to tame it. And it reminds me of another thing. In college, I had a friend who was really into Forgotten Realm. Whatever,
Yeah, most
whatever the
likely.
D&D setting was with the desert and the Dragon Kings.
Yeah, I think
Um,
that's Forgotten
I think
Forgotten
it's
Realms.
Forgotten Realm. Anyway, he was super excited because the fourth edition book finally came out, and he was talking about running a giant campaign for everyone. And we had in our friend group, we only had one other person that was interested in the setting, just one.
Hmm.
And he was like, "Oh yeah, man, I love this about Forgotten Realms." And the other guy said, "Yeah, that's not going to be in my game." All right, well, I always found this interesting. Yeah, it's not going to be in my game. And like
Yeah,
everything that the guy that was interested in the game was interested in, the guy was like, "No, fuck that." It's like, hey man, you better make this fun for someone at least.
I hate being an alpha nerd, man. I fucking hate it. Yeah, that
Speaking
sucks.
of doggos, here's Baines. Oh, come on, I'm gonna annoy you. Beans,
Aw,
we're talking about you this
beans.
week. She is so
Yeah.
sleepy. Look at that
Oh,
face. She's had a hard day of being a little doggo.
I was recently prescribed to get a dog.
Yes.
Yeah, I might. I don't know. It'll. Yeah,
It's a
I
lot of
don't.
work.
I don't get out as much. I would. That would force me to get out, I guess. But
Yeah,
yeah.
at least 3 times a day.
Yep. Whereas right now it's more like one time out per 3 days. So.
It's good to get that vitamin D, other than a solid dicking from yours truly, Charles.
It's the only vitamin D I need.
So, okay, my wife's name is Desiree. For those of you who don't know,
So she's vitamin D. I like
and
it.
the other day I was trying to flirt with her. And I was like, "I need some of that vitamin D," and she looked at me and goes, "Oh, you be with my big dick?" I was like, "You know what? You're my wife. I'll take it. Like
Yeah,
whatever
yeah.
happens,
You're
happens. I
damn
guess.
right you'll take it. Yeah. That's marvelous. Yeah.
Guess we're pegging."
I was trying to come up with some like, funny variation on Charles the other day, and I guess vitamin C would work, but I don't know. That's pretty lame. Also, weren't they like a terrible fucking band from the 90s, if I'm not mistaken?
I don't know. When I think of vitamin C, I always think of like emergency,
Yeah. Yeah.
which like I drink. I drink when I'm
And
feeling
10
bad,
minutes on the
which I have
clock.
been for the last few days. So
I like it because it's effervescent. I love
I
me
get
an
the
effervescent
acai
beverage.
one.
Yeah, that's tasty too.
It
Drink
is.
when I'm feeling 10 minutes
I
on the clock.
have been for
yeah.
the last few days,
I like it. I'm a big believer in the
effervescent.
carbonated medicinal drink. I love
I
me
get
an
the
effervescent
acai
beverage.
one.
Yeah, we
So
used to do like
it
tonics,
is.
here in America and elsewhere, and like I think we should bring those back for sure.
I agree. I get the acai one.
We used
So
to do like tonics
I think that's all I want to talk about
here
right
in
now.
America and elsewhere, and like I think we should bring those back.
I'm gonna ask something different this time.
We used to do like
So
tonics.
I'm trying to get more followers on TikTok. I'm gonna ask something. Over the next few days, I'm going to be trying to figure out what I'm doing on TikTok. I've been told I need to choose a niche. It's either going to be gaming, D&D type stuff like this, or it's going to be social justice. It's either going to be, or it's going to be horror, or it's going to be weird Jewish stuff. So get
So
on TikTok.
I have relevant information for this decision.
Oh,
Yeah, I was fucking around on like a news site earlier today, just on Google News, and like, it's always fun to watch the algorithm try to figure me out because of
Yep.
the various like fucked up shit that I'm always searching for, and like it decided at one point quite clearly that I was black, which was strange, and then at another point, sometime recently, it decided that I was like an evangelical Christian. So I get like news bulletins from CBN and like right wing sites, and both the Federalist, which is a very right wing like blog basically, them and CBN, which is like a big Christian news organization, are like freaked the fuck out by the fact that there are people on TikTok dabbling with Wicca and the occult and witchcraft. They're like full fucking like 4-alarm, like having a freak out because they're like a new way for the occult to like worm its way into the mainstream. Like, is your child dabbling with witchcraft? I'm like, you fucking assholes never learn. Like, how many satanic panics is it gonna take? I'm like, you
someone tried to
fucking
cancel
never
Noodle the other day, which was
how
amazing
many
to me.
satanic panics is it gonna
Do you know who
take?
Noodle
Why?
is?
No.
Someone tried to cancel Noodle. So on TikTok, there's a guy named John Graz. Do you know who Noodle is? John has a 13-year-old pug named John Graz.
That's an old bug.
And every morning, well, most
this
mornings,
is the
Bones No
horoscope
Bones.
one. Yeah.
And so someone was like,
This is the horoscope one. Yeah.
Noodles the pug is engaged in witchcraft, and fortune telling is against the Bible. And like the screen cuts to a young black man just like fortune telling is against the Bible. And like, did anyone have a young black man the persecution of the religious rights of a pug on their fucking 2021 bingo card? The religious rights of a pug on their fucking 2021 bingo card.
I should have, man.
And it's like, look, it's John Graz. I think it's John Graz. I hope I'm not. It's wonderful. It's wholesome content. He's a super sweet man. Noodle is a super sweet pug. I love them both very much. I send the videos to my wife every morning. That he
I like
makes
them to win either way. Like,
yeah,
I take it easy or like go get it.
Yeah, for sure. Like it's the energy I need.
Go get it.
Yeah, for sure. There's another channel on TikTok called TF underscore did underscore I just read, who reviews splatterpunk and extreme horror. There's lots of cool little niches and lots of really funny people on TikTok. I have a blast. I'm going to do stuff on there. I don't know quite what yet, but I am Kaiju underscore poet on TikTok. You can also find me on Twitter at Kaiju Poet, or on my website www.kaijupoet.com. I have books. Some of them have werewolves. I have books, so check out what I do. It's a lot of cool stuff, I think. So check out.
And I am not on TikTok, and it'll take some prodding for me to do that, but I'm sure that at some point I'll be dragged on there kicking and screaming. So yep, I look forward to it. And I also don't have any werewolves in like my what do you call it, like oeuvre yet. Yeah. But what I do have is a novel called The Baptisms of the Dead, which you can get at either Madness Heart Press Press or Amazon. I would suggest you do it through the Madness Heart website, just so that we feel special. And
money. I
yeah,
will
yeah, yeah.
say both the author and the publisher for that book very handsome. Very
Yes,
handsome.
they're both striking at least.
Quite dapper.
Yes, that's true. You can also go to saltcitycenter.blogspot.com, which is my now like at least weekly updated blog. It's got much of my content. You can also go to tinyurl.com/Charles R. Bernard. That is one of my blog posts that has the big list of where you can find my fiction, my nonfiction, my all kinds of stuff. So go there. And it turns out that I will have not one but two books coming out very soon. As soon as the contract is like finalized, it should be next week. I will tell you the title and announce some other cool stuff about it. But as I've mentioned before, it's a collaboration with my friend who you can find on Instagram at Taphony Jones, which is TATHOMIE.JONES. You can also find this here podcast / video stream at Juan Moncast on Twitter at WANMONCAST.
Now, last thing I want to talk about, and no, I'm not going to get all dark or sad this time. There's a couple of Kickstarters going on that I would like to tell you about. There's a couple of Kickstarters because I'm pretty excited about them. Namely, the guys who made Morkborg have made a cyberpunk setting compatible with Mork, like the Morkborg cyberpunk. It's called Cyborg.
Which is brilliant. Like,
it is.
Somebody must have felt like a fucking genius when they figured that one out.
It is. It looks really cool. There's a Kickstarter for a game called Mothership, which is like spacefaring sci-fi horror, like old school, spacefaring sci-fi.
Oh, that's the one with the new engine or whatever, right? The new, yeah. Oh, that's the one with the new.
It's 1.0. They're calling everything released before 0.0. It's 1.0. It looks great. And finally, this is closing tomorrow. So if you see this today, it's called Kalimba. So if you see this today, they're only about halfway to being back. So, but if you see it, give them some love. It's role playing based on African mythology and fantasy, and it's really cool looking. So check those out. I'm hopefully not going to back anything for like a few minutes, so that my bank account can recover. I'm hopefully not going to back anything, but we'll see. Hey, we'll just see how it goes. Thank you so much for joining us on this consensual journey we call Wandering Monster. I've been John Baldisberger.
I've been Charles R. Bernard.
We will be back next week, probably same time, same place. We will be back. But until then, stay safe. But stay scared. But until then, stay safe.